poetry scene in Brighton, I feel like as soon as you read on this poetry scene, you are welcomed with open arms, and that is very fucking special. That was one of the reasons we started Queer the Mic, was just like, just want more of it, just want to celebrate it more, and also to forefront the queer and trans poets that actually are a huge part of what powers this scene and why it's so special, is because there's so many of us here and because of the like openness of the queer approach to things.
Hello, all you beautiful people. I have been waiting a little while to say this. Welcome to Queer the Mic!
I often glibly describe myself with like terms like trauma poet, keeping it light, and bringing you queer cripple realness, honey, I believe is my bio. I was a printmaker for a few years, still am. It was One Inky Queer, as in ink as in printmaking. And I remember saying to Ollie when we hit upon the name, that's funny, that would kind of work if I wrote, not that I'm ever going to write. And so it was quite fortuitous. Before I started writing poetry, I was a very unproductive visual artist, and I had a rule with myself about my Instagram that anything I made went on Instagram. And it was so I didn't do internal critic and go, is this worth putting out there? I just go, anything I make, take a photo, put it on Instagram. Not polished, not like making it look super great, just it goes up. And so when I started writing, I did the same thing. I think with the way I put things out there, I'm quite deliberately kind of rough and imperfect about it. And the selfie videos I was putting out would be like, I was mostly sat here at 5 a.m. with bags under my eyes in my dressing gown going, I'm just writing a poem, I'm going to read it to you. So generally the last few months, I've been kind of weirdly contented. But yesterday and then waking up this morning, well, this one is called My Turn for Malaise. I'm going cabin crazy, caught stir fever, locked up in lockdown, a prowling creature. I started writing in lockdown because I was like always incredibly busy and calendar really booked up. And then lockdown kind of pulled the rug out from under and the entire calendar just got wiped in a day, you know, which at first I was completely panicked about. But over time, it forced me to have more time for a relationship with myself. I had a really bad 2021, and there is a bit of me that thinks like the universe just like popped poetry in there, gave me poetry near the beginning just so I could get through the fucking thing. Like 2021 was awful, and writing really, really helped. Then I was like, where are the collections of queer poets? Where do queer poets interact, you know? And it was lockdown, so this huge poetry scene that there is in Brighton that's huge and rich and wonderful had just shut down mostly. There was like one or two things still happening on Zoom. But there was nothing queer specific either. And I wanted to be particularly like working with other queer poets. So if you want to hear some poetry in a room full of lesbian murals, come see me next Wednesday. And many other brilliant poets. Connor Byrne's playing that. Many other people are as well, but Connor Byrne is like, if you haven't seen them, I mean, like, have you even lived? I like them. They're just too good. They're the kind of poet that makes you hate them because they're that good. You know when people are intelligent and funny and you're like, oh, fuck off. Brighton is a really queer town, and I'd moved to Brighton 6 months before lockdown, and I just about got myself set up and was like, right, I'm going to go find the queer people, and lockdown happened. So I was looking for that. I couldn't find it, so I was like, well, fuck it, we'll just do it then on Zoom. May 2021, so 3 months after I started writing, we had the first poetry meet cute, and it's just kind of like a very relaxed, very intimate space for like queer and trans poets to write together and share an open mic, but in a much more chilled out, interactive and kind of with positive feedback way. Whereas like when you're sharing in person, it's wonderful in a different way, but it is more performative and you've more got your outside face on than when you're like in your pajamas at home. If you've got a real
love for people. I feel like you get a real heady injection of people from poets.
Yeah, it's like a sense of interactions and comedy, and you get a sense of the person's personality, as you said, like their character.
The people who have depth and intellectualism and elegance, and the people who make fart jokes.
You gotta have a balance.
It's true. It's true.
We've all written those poems, you know, those poems that get you over something, that move something on.
Yeah.
And you're like, thank God. It's called Rods and Cones. Don't think I have many photos of us, though I can see you so clearly. The rods that marked your silhouette up and died. Constant shadow, you were once so bright to me. Bleached them out, leached the rhodopsin from my retina. I can always see your absence. But the cones, colours are on the comeback.
We talked about when lockdown came off, kind of taking it face to face in some way. And that's what led to Queer the Mic. Having sold 9 tickets when it's still not on for a month, and actually that was a month and a half ago, so I haven't checked in again yet.
I think that's good.
I think having 6 weeks before sold 9 tickets for something we've not done that much promo for, I don't think that's a problem. I think I think we're just like, now is the point where sales will probably start, having already sold 9. My first poetry night I ever went to in real life was in May of 2021. But then another lockdown happened and I didn't perform until October 2021. And I was like performing once, twice, 3 times a week from October 2021 pretty much all the way up until now. When I first got on to the poetry scene, just the amount of anger that people were getting out there, especially female anger from trans people. We're told we shouldn't be angry, our anger isn't palatable. When I saw other people doing that, that allowed me to kind of wrench open mine. Carrying around that amount of anger is not healthy or easy, and it's much kind of better, it's cathartic to get it out. And it's cathartic for a lot of other people in the room because a lot of people are very quietly disabled. I like that it is largely an unapologetic space for big feelings of all flavours and not just kind of putting a smile on, you know.
In the last couple of days, I've been devouring a wonderful book called Tender Points by Amy Berkowitz, which was kindly lent to me by a friend. And it was so cathartic to just read a text by somebody else with fibromyalgia. And this poem came out of it. I rarely usually get angry, but these days my anger is coming back to me. Uninvited, unwieldy, arms wrenched, buckling knees under its screaming blood mass. I'm drawn fast back past every doctor's blank face, their short answers, shrugging shoulders, a shock at first now so familiar. Another femme for the bucket of what they used to call hysteria. I must fasten my fury to function and try in vain to get what I need from them, ignore the rub that the one exception met is inaccessible, and somehow yet still not give up. Lest I be accused of wallowing in my sickness, lazy, happy on benefits, I've heard the pain is an invention anyway.
I couldn't do anything creative for the first couple of years because I was just working myself to exhaustion to try and just pay the rent and pay the bills. When I moved down here and I finally got benefits and my work life became more tenable, if you get the lifestyle in balance, it gives you time and space to actually do creative stuff. Being disabled can be a very solitary and isolating experience, and so writing about it is a way to feel less alone, not just because of sharing it and performing it, but just because of externalizing the experience. Queerness puts you a little outside of society sometimes, and so does transness, but nothing puts you outside of society like not being able to properly earn, like being stuck in the house, like being isolated and in pain. Nothing puts you outside of society like really truly valuing your health and your present experience and having great sensory sensitivity and having better sex because you have really good sensory sensitivity. And I've hosted Meet Cute with a migraine more than once, and with like migraine tools, various tools I use like on my head while I'm hosting it, and it's just been like, by the way guys, this is happening, this is why this, and they carried on. And like, I could not even go to a face-to-face event with a migraine. And like, certainly there's been times when we chatted about disability in Meet Cute, and it's turned out like everyone in the room is disabled. Poetry is a very good accessible art form. Like, you don't need lots of equipment, you don't need lots of energy, you need a piece of paper and a pen. Like, so you don't have to like get stuff prepared, get stuff out. You can do it for 5 minutes or you can do it for longer. Poetry is one of the few things where I really focus. Like, I feel like poems grab hold of you, like they grab you by the lapels, by the shirt, and go, no, you're doing this now. The particular conditions I have, fibro and ADHD and PTSD, they're all quite dynamic. That lends itself quite well with poetry. There isn't that much poetry that's about that, like, you know, I just feel all right. It tends to be about great joy or great pain. I think it's one of the best tools I've ever found for PTSD.
And I wrote this poem this week, and I don't know if you've ever shared that joke with other poets of like, this is by far the cheapest form of therapy. And it's a glib joke, but really I genuinely don't know any way better out of the memory traps of PTSD. And I've been talking about that for a while, but it took me a long time to write this tiny little poem about it. So poetry is therapy. My voice caught the ends of memory loops and unrolled them so they could be better formed, tied up in themselves, layered into rhythms folded, led softly through rhyme's symmetrical bows. Until, holding them now, only I truly know, oh, how my presence transformed.
It's going to be somewhere between 700 and 1,000, I reckon. I haven't counted, but I've estimated from what's in each book, like it's notebook number 14. I hadn't been to a poetry night until I was a poet. I didn't know they happened. I didn't know they were a thing. So I think anyone who gives us a mic, I'm just like, yes, please, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to have the first feature of the second half, and I'm really excited to introduce Reanna.
Well, a couple of things that are in this lovely zine which came out recently, which is spelled AGHH, and they taught me to say it. Apparently you say it.
I think the poetry scene in Brighton is mostly set up, organised, run by and featuring marginalised poets. Poets I know, poets who are friends I've written poems after. That's one of the nice things about a scene where you repeatedly all expose each other to your poetry. I think everyone's influencing everyone. Disabled people don't have sex. We're sanitized and childlike. It wouldn't be right? But sorry if I horrify, but this cripple fucks like all the time. This crip wears sexy lingerie. This crip could sometimes fuck all day. This crip does things the dirty way. This cripple fucks. This crip fucks, sucks and fucks again. Make sure that fucking never ends. Takes those pictures, presses send. This cripple fucks. Cripples fuck. In beds, back supports, wheelchairs. Cripples are fucking everywhere, from sucking toes to pulling hair. Good God. Or, which one is it? Cripples fuck. Queer the Mic is at the Brunswick, which is wheelchair accessible and has wheelchair toilets. That was really important to me. I was like, as a disabled poet, I cannot be a disabled poet shouting about being disabled, doing poems about being disabled, and then run a night that's inaccessible.
I know my poem. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Becca, do you need some help with doing decorations?
They need something to clip the flags so they don't...
From each end. This one at this end and that one at that end.
Oh, you are joking.
Ollie's literally joking.
Sorry, you put me in. So you put me in like production mode. I don't care. There's no jokes here. I'm gonna do something with that. Okay, let me help
Every single one of you. We are so happy to have a full room for what is going to be a beautiful night of entirely queer and trans voices. This is where we come to tell our stories. This is where we come to spill our verse messily all over the floor. This is where we come to bring our big rainbowy emotions. And we're just going to have the best time, and the lineup we have got for you is killer. After that break, we'll have our headliner. Then we're going to have, which is, by the way, sorry, I should say, our wonderful headliner, Aflo the poet. So excited. Love every time I see Aflo. And then there'll be another break after that, so we all keep well hydrated. And then for our second half, the lovely Becca is going to be hosting the second half of our open mic and our wonderful feature, No Assumptions. Let's do the thing. Let's do our first poem of our first Queer the Mic. Disabled people don't have sex. We're sanitized and childlike. It wouldn't be right, right? Well, sorry if I horrify, but this cripple fucks. Like all the time. This crip wears sexy lingerie. This crip could sometimes fuck all day. This crip does things the dirty way. This cripple fucks. This crip fucks, sucks and fucks again. Makes sure that fucking never ends. Takes those pictures, presses send. This cripple fucks. Worse yet, this cripple loves all genders. This crip is a fucking bender. Lies back and licks the queer agenda. This cripple fucks. This cripple's infamously loud. Of my pleasure I am proud. Though I've never done it in a crowd yet. This cripple fucks. This cripple's not the only one. We're all at it, aren't we, hun? You've never had this much fun. All cripples fuck. My ex, their disabilities were downright fucking sexy. Not fetishized, just close to me. Each other cripples fuck. In beds, back supports, wheelchairs, cripples are fucking everywhere. From sucking toes to pulling hair. Cripples fuck. Cripples are fucking creative. Crip sex is art. This ain't just mating. Inventing ways to get us sated. Good God, cripples fuck. Cripples are flooding their own basements. Sexy and sensuous masturbation. When did you last use your imagination? Themselves, cripples fuck. Crips are emotionally aware. Our conditions often guide us there. And you know that means the sex is better. Yes, cripples fuck. Lastly, I have a crip confession. Something no one with fibro mentions. I have 12 orgasms in most sessions. Oh, this cripple fucks. I know, I cheer too. Having heard this, I bet that you wish you were a cripple too. Or at least that we were fucking you. 'Cause crips know how to fuck.
Woo!